Tell Pan Am to follow KLM. Tell Pan Am to taxi through runway 30. After taxiing to exit C3, it will move out of the way. Let KLM take off. This set the stage for the collision. Think about it. The tower only told KLM to take off through runway 30. At the same time, it was only Pan Am that was passing through runway 30. The taxi was controlled by time, can be separated from the two planes, but if the control is not good, the two planes are likely to collide together. At this time, the sky is not beautiful. The airport suddenly fogged up. Although the two planes were very close to each other, but they could not see each other. At 4:58 p.m. KLM finally taxied to number 30, run to the starting point. The crew applied to the tower for takeoff. Suhi. After the tower received the request from KLM, we'll let you know when we're ready to take off. KL 4805 is ready to fly to Papa Bican, ascend and maintain flight level at 9,000 feet. After takeoff, the flight was diverted to 040. But unfortunately, KLM only received the last half of the sentence. KL 4805 is cleared for top beacon, ascend and maintain flight level at 9,000 feet. After takeoff, the flight was diverted to 040. The KLM crew thought the tower had given them permission to take off. In fact, the second half of the tower's statement was just informing KLM of the flight path, but when it came down to it, there was still a chance to save it, because the crew would have attached the tower's instructions. When the co-pilot was giving the tower's instructions, "We are taking off," which means we are taking off. The tower didn't notice the co-pilot's error in attaching the instructions. The first half of the sentence is missing. "We will inform you when we are taking off," and the co-pilot's VR taking off as VR and take off, which means we are in takeoff position. So, why did KLM not hear the first half of the sentence, "Stand by for takeoff"? We'll let you know. That brings us back to Pan Am. Pan Am was taxiing on runway 30 at the time. According to ATC's instructions, Pan Am was taxiing to exit C3. It should have been taxiing out of runway 30 to avoid collision with KLM on runway 30. But C3 is a very large exit for Pan Am. It's relatively difficult for Pan Am to navigate directly out. It's a bit of a test of piloting skills, but there is another exit ahead of runway 30, exit C4 west. For exit for the huge Pan Am, it's easy to slide out, so Pan Am, without informing the tower, changed the taxi-out path without permission, further increasing Pan Am's taxiing time while Pan Am was taxiing to exit C4. I heard the conversation between the tower and KLM. When KLM requested to take off on runway 30. Immediately the button was pressed to tell the tower no, we are still on the runway, but at the same time, the tower also pressed the call button. We'll let you know when KLM is ready to take off. KL 4805 is cleared for Papabican ascent. And maintain the altitude at 9,000 feet. After takeoff, the flight was diverted to 040. So the tower and Pan Am pressed the call button at the same time. The earpiece produced a blind tone was generated for about 4 seconds. This blind tone is what the tower said about standby for takeoff. We'll inform you and Pan Am that no. We're still on the runway. So KLM didn't hear the standby for takeoff. We'll inform you of that half of it. And the tower didn't hear Pan Am say no. We're still on the runway. If there hadn't been that 4-second blind print, maybe this crash wouldn't have happened, but there's no such thing as if. So KLM's captain pushed the throttle into takeoff gear and started to accelerate. In no time, KLM speed, it reached 300 km per hour, and at that moment, Pan Am was taxiing on runway 30. But because of the fog, neither side could see the other. After a period of taxiing, KLM, after breaking out of the fog, they found another airliner in front of them. That was Pan Am taxiing at exit 4 of the tidal wave, Pan American Airlines. At that moment, Pan Am also spotted KLM taxiing towards them. The captain of Pan Am couldn't believe it was real. He thought he had lost his eyesight until he saw KLM's taxiing lights. "I realized this was not a dream, it was real." So the captain of Pan Am immediately squeezed the direction of the private exit, but it was too late. The distance between the two planes was only 300 meters. Soon after, the KLM captain shouted, "Oh my God!" Then the two planes collided. Both planes then caught fire and exploded. Of the 396 people on board Pan Am, 335 were killed, all 248 people on board KLM were killed. In total, 583 people were killed. In the history of civil aviation in the world, the worst air crash in the history of civil aviation, it has yet to be broken. This was a completely avoidable crash if there was number 4 seconds of blind sound. If we are taking off had not heard we are at takeoff, if Pan AM had followed the tower's instructions, had Pan AM followed the tower's instructions and cut out of exit C3 if there was no fog. If the captains on both sides had not been so anxious, maybe there wouldn't have been 583 people killed. There are too many coincidences in everything. May such accidents never happen again. The warning bell will ring long. Today we tell you about the Tenerife air disaster. It was the afternoon of March 27, 1977, Las Palmas International Airport in Spain. There was a sudden explosion. As passengers and airport staff were panicking. A group claimed responsibility for the incident, and that there was another bomb inside the airport. The airport authorities immediately decided to close Las Palmas International Airport because the name of the airport is too long. It will be referred to as a airport because of the high tourist season in the area. Therefore, there were a lot of flights at a airport. After the closure of Airport A, there were still many planes waiting to land in the sky. In the end, we had to arrange for the planes waiting to land to Tenerife, Los Rodeos Airport in the north of the island. We call it Airport B. And at the same time, all the planes in Airport A were moved out. Here again there was a problem since Airport B has only one runway and the size of the airport is relatively small. So many planes are taking off and landing here. B airport staff completely overwhelmed. This also laid the groundwork for today's air disaster. At about 1:38 p.m. one of the main characters of today's crash and Royal Blue Airlines flight KL4805 landed first at Airport B, waiting for Airport A to reopen, and then landed again at Airport A. But KLM is very strict with its captains. The evaluation is very strict. If there is a flight delay, the flight assignment will be reduced. If there are multiple delays, the captain's flight license may be revoked. Therefore, the captain of KLM was very anxious. He was praying for the airport to be opened soon. The KLM captain waited for a long time. There was no sign of the airport opening. At this moment, the KLM captain thought about waiting here. To wait here, why not fill up the fuel for the next flight first? So, KLM's captain flew the plane to refuel. And that's when the second protagonist of the crash came on the scene. It was Pan AM flight PA 1736. He also landed at Airport B. The aircraft was a Boeing 747. The captain of Pan AM took a look. The airport is full of. He was a little anxious, but at about 4:00 p.m. came the good news. The risk at North Airport has been removed. It's ready to reopen, because the Pan AM flight hadn't been disembarked since the beginning. Passengers are resting on the plane, therefore, Pan AM had priority for takeoff. As Pan AM was rejoicing, found that KLM was in front of them. In the heart of refueling, that depressed, had no choice. We had to wait for KLM to fill up. At about 4:56 p.m., KLM finished refueling. It started to request the tower to taxi for takeoff. The tower agreed to KLM's request and instructed them to take off via runway 30. Then the tower also contacted Pan AM.